The following is presented purely for educational and entertainment purposes. What you're about to hear is the word-for-word federal courtroom testimony from the Sean Diddy Combs trial, as reported by Inner City Press. There were no cameras, no live streams, no paparazzi snapping photos from the gallery, but what unfolded behind those heavily guarded doors. What was said in that sealed courtroom sent shockwaves through the deepest corners of Hollywood. Jamie Foxx, one of the most respected, most gifted entertainers of this era, had taken the stand. And according to multiple witnesses, he wasn't performing. His hands shook, his voice cracked, and then without warning, he completely broke down, sobbing, screaming in front of the jury as he relived what he saw. That one unforgettable night inside Diddy's mansion. Leaked courtroom notes paired with chilling sketches and eyewitness accounts painted a disturbing picture. This wasn't the Jamie Foxx the world adored, not the smooth, confident, bulletproof star. This man was broken, haunted, and as his testimony poured out, the courtroom sat frozen, because it wasn't just what he saw, it was how deeply it had been hidden, how it was orchestrated, protected, and how for years no one had the courage to speak out. Jamie's connection to Diddy, that's no secret. They laughed together in public, cracked jokes at award shows, and posed for luxury snapshots that screamed power, wealth, and brotherhood. But according to those first week leaks from court, that brotherhood, it was a front. A carefully staged illusion that shattered the night Jamie accepted a seemingly innocent invite to Diddy's now notorious mansion. On the stand, Jamie began by describing their relationship. Everyone wanted in a circle. He said, Diddy's place. It was where the music lived, the deals, the vibe, like walking into a palace of influence. But what Jamie didn't know, at least not back then, was that some parties weren't meant to celebrate. They were meant to initiate. He told the court how he was led into a private wing after a night of endless drinks and lavish vibes. There were people I didn't recognize, he said. Not artists, not execs, just people who looked off, out of place. His voice reportedly dropped. They told me to stay, that Diddy had a surprise. Then the vibe shifted. Lights dimmed, laughter faded. Guests quietly disappeared into secretive rooms. One of Diddy's. Aides allegedly guided Jamie into a soundproof home theater. There was already a video queued up, he said. I didn't know what was happening. They said, this is where we bond. What followed left Jamie mentally shattered. I've never seen anything like it. I couldn't tell if it was real or staged, but my gut knew something was wrong. He tried to leave, but the doors were locked. They told me to just watch, said, everyone who's somebody has gone through this. One person present told a reporter, the room went cold. Jamie paused, took a deep breath. I never asked to see that, he said, and I've spent every single day since trying to forget it. The judge called for a 5-minute recess to let Jamie collect himself. He returned, red-eyed, hands trembling. The courtroom was silent, and what came next was a gut-wrenching exposure of Hollywood's ugliest secret, the protection of power. At any cost, Jamie continued. When I tried to leave, someone handed me a glass. Said it'd help me relax. I didn't drink it, I just said I had to go. He recalled Diddy's expression. He looked at me like he knew I saw it, but didn't care, like it was part of the game. But the emotional damage wasn't the worst part. It was what happened next, because in the days that followed, the phone calls started coming in. They weren't outright threats, but quiet, chilling reminders to stay close and stay silent. They came with an offer, a deal, an NDA wrapped in a check worth 7 figures. Fox refused, and that, he claimed, is when the pressure began. He testified that over the following years, he began to notice a subtle but steady shift. Major offers slowed, projects stalled without warning. Producers, once friends, stopped answering his calls. It was a freeze out, quiet, calculated, and completely real. I saw careers disappear, he said in court. People who asked questions just vanished, not dead, just erased. Fox continued, sharing that other celebrities had come to him over the years. They too had experienced similar events, but fear kept them silent. You think I'm the only one, he asked. You think I'm brave? I'm not. I'm just tired. A gasp reportedly swept through the gallery when Jamie named 3 major entertainers he claimed were also present at similar gatherings. Though the names were redacted in the official transcript, several media outlets later suggested they included a Grammy-winning rapper, a beloved late-night host, and an actress known for her activism. Foxx ended this part of his testimony with a chilling statement. "We wear the smiles, the suits, the shades, but underneath it all, so many of us are broken. Some things you can't unsee." The mood in the courtroom shifted darker as Jamie leaned forward, ready to reveal what shook him the most. It wasn't just what he saw that night at Diddy's mansion. It was what he learned later, what began as a surreal, disturbing experience, twisted into something far more calculated and far more terrifying. This wasn't about some wild party, Jamie said. It was about control, leverage, blackmail. His tone turned cold, almost clinical, as he described what insiders had told him existed: a hidden archive, a private, encrypted vault stored somewhere inside Diddy's estate. Jamie hadn't seen it personally, but a former house manager and 2 security guards who have since vanished from the public eye confirmed its existence. They said it was a surveillance hub, Jamie told the court. Monitors, locked drives, cabinets only a few people could access. They recorded everything, not just party clips, not memories, footage people never knew existed, filmed without consent. He said cameras were hidden everywhere, bedrooms, hallways, even bathrooms. Guests had no clue. You'd think it was just a wild night, but someone was always watching. And this footage, it wasn't some private collection, it was currency, Jamie said, a system of secrets. Clips of celebrities, executives, politicians, athletes. Many allegedly had no idea they were filmed, often intoxicated or caught in disturbing, even non-consensual moments. It wasn't about watching, he added. It was about owning people, making sure no one ever turned against them. Insurance policies. He recalled one moment that still haunts him. A few months after his visit to the mansion, a package arrived at his production office. No return address, just his name written in bold black marker. Inside, a flash drive. On it, grainy footage, a distorted video showing the theater room from that night. Jamie's face, his reactions, all caught by a hidden camera. Clearly recorded without his knowledge. There was no sound, just his expressions, his confusion, his fear. The final frame, a black screen with 2 chilling words: "Just remember." I stared at that screen for over an hour, Jamie said. Didn't sleep that night. I knew what it was, a warning. They were telling me, "We see you, we own your silence." And honestly, I stayed quiet after that. I didn't know who to trust. Every time a new headline broke, another scandal, another artist vanishing from the spotlight, Jamie said the same question haunted him. Were they filmed too? He claimed the archive had been used multiple times to bury lawsuits, to silence accusers, to coerce public support from people who had privately walked away. Some of the faces you still see out there, he said, they weren't direct threats, but they were clear enough. Just subtle warnings to stay in line, to not drift too far. Jaime said they offered him a deal, an NDA tied to a 7-figure check. He turned it down, and according to his testimony, that's when the pressure began. Over the next few years, he noticed a sharp decline in leading roles, strange setbacks in funding for his projects, and a sudden silence from producers who once called him family. It wasn't loud, but it was obvious. "I knew why," he said. According to court records, Jaime told the jury, "I saw careers disappear. People who asked too many questions were just gone, not dead, just removed from the narrative." Then he said other celebrities started opening up to him. Names he didn't share in court, but people with similar stories, people too scared to go public. "You think I'm the brave one?" he asked the court. "I'm not. I'm just outdone." One moment shook the gallery. Jamie mentioned a late-night call he got from a major actress, someone America adored. Though he didn't reveal her name, he described her as a sweetheart to the nation. She was in tears. She had received a video of herself unconscious, and someone looming over her, a face she didn't recognize. She was terrified, Jaime said. She didn't know what happened. She didn't know if anyone would believe her, and I didn't know what to tell her. The judge called for a break after that, concerned for Jaime's well-being. He looked emotionally drained, but just before stepping down, he delivered one last line that chilled the courtroom. They don't just keep secrets, they craft silence. They build a prison out of your worst moments, and they hold the only key. By now, the courtroom wasn't just listening, they were hanging on every word. This wasn't just about Diddy anymore. Jaime's words hinted at a much larger system, one built on fear, blackmail, and silence. After a short recess, Jaime returned to the stand, still visibly shaken, but now more focused. What he said next left the room stunned. He described a moment a few weeks after receiving that flash drive. Two men approached him outside a high-end LA restaurant. They looked like bodyguards. They didn't introduce themselves. One simply handed him a phone and stepped back. On the line, Diddy. His voice was calm, almost too calm. "I hope you're not planning to say something you'll regret, my man," Diddy allegedly told him. "You're a legend, Jaime. Don't ruin that over something that ain't your business." It wasn't what was said, it was how it was said. Jaime testified he felt watched. He changed his phone, canceled public events, and began traveling with private security. Then suddenly gossip blogs began pushing a story, one suggesting Jaime was involved in a scandal. According to him, it was entirely fabricated. That was their warning, he said. "They were telling me, we can spin a lie around you faster than you can speak your truth." Back in court, Jaime painted a chilling picture. He said, Diddy's empire wasn't built on just fame and money. It was built on surveillance, manipulation, and fear. He explained how at many of these parties, guests were forced to give up their phones, allegedly for privacy. But Jaime believed the real reason was much darker. He claimed insiders told him the phones were cloned. Contacts, texts, voicemails, all copied and stored. People think the risk was what happened at the parties, he said. But the real danger was in what they stole from you, your data, your words, your fear. Prosecutors then brought forward NDAs signed by dozens of high-profile attendees. These weren't your usual confidentiality agreements. These were ironclad, even including clauses barring any public comment about personal experiences. Jaime said he was asked to sign one too, but he refused. And according to him, that's when the fallout really began. Endorsement deals evaporated. A movie project he was developing got dropped overnight. Studio calls stopped completely. "I wasn't blacklisted for doing wrong," Jaime said. "I was blacklisted for refusing to play their game." As his story unfolded, the courtroom was gripped with a mix of disbelief and horror. Then Jaime began to describe what he called the mechanics of the mansion. He talked about specific rooms he was shown during that infamous overnight stay. There were rooms on the compound that didn't exist on any blueprint. Jaime recalled being led down a narrow hallway hidden behind a bookcase, which opened into what looked like a surveillance command center. Two silent men were inside, both avoiding eye contact. This wasn't a casual tour. It felt deliberate, like they wanted him to feel watched. Jaime said one of the men pointed to a screen filled with live feeds. Bedrooms, spas, private lounges. "I didn't ask to see any of it," Jaime clarified, "but they wanted me to know they saw everything." When he asked who controlled the footage, the answer was blunt. Only him, referring to Diddy. Later that night, Jaime was told his room was located in a separate hallway, far from where the other guests were staying. The room was lavish but sterile. No windows. Surveillance cameras visible in each corner. "It didn't feel like hospitality," Jaime said. "It felt like an interrogation chamber. Sleep was impossible." Around 2 a.m., he heard muffled laughter and music. Stepping out, he saw a quiet procession of robe-clad guests moving toward the theater. He followed, keeping his distance, and what he witnessed left him shaken. It was a ritual-like scene. People were handed drinks. Some were blindfolded, some were being filmed. And in the middle, Diddy stood smiling, directing it all. What truly unnerved Jaime was the presence of men he referred to as handlers. Not partygoers, but enforcers. They tracked everyone's movement, ensured cameras kept rolling, and whispered instructions into ears. Jaime believed this wasn't about pleasure, it was about collecting leverage. When it all ended, he returned to his room only to find the door slightly open. Inside, everything was untouched except for a photo of him and Diddy from years ago, now placed on the nightstand. Jaime swore it hadn't been there before. On the back, a handwritten message, brotherhood. On his final day on the stand, Jaime's voice cracked as he recounted a secret visit he received months later. A federal agent, anonymous off the record, claimed he'd been investigating Diddy for years. The agent said there were more than 30 sealed cases tied to Diddy and his circle, everything from trafficking to extortion, but none had moved forward. Jaime asked why. The answer, he's protected, high places, people you wouldn't believe. That's when Jaime dropped his most explosive claim. The agent allegedly told him that sealed documents linked the former US president to one of Diddy's private fundraisers, the same kind believed to have been secretly recorded. Jaime made it clear he didn't know if anything illegal occurred, but the presence of such powerful figures explained why no one wanted to touch the case. The agent warned him plainly, going public wouldn't just mean taking on Diddy, it meant going against the whole system. Jaime ended his statement in tears, pleading not for himself but for the truth. This isn't revenge, he said. This is about exposing something that's been buried too long, bigger than music, bigger than me. And if anything happens to me, I want people to know. I told the truth. Then Jaime described what he called the blackout incident. This wasn't a figure of speech, it was literal. Around 2:01 a.m. during his stay, the estate suddenly went dark. The music cut, lights flickered, then silence. Jaime stepped into the hallway. The air suddenly colder, heavier. It was like a switch flipped, he said, like everyone had done this before. Then a tall man in a suit, someone far too serious to be part of a party, stepped out and calmly instructed, no phones, no cameras, everyone back inside. Jaime, rattled and confused, returned to his room, but curiosity got the best of him. Quietly, he slipped back down the hallway and peeked through a slightly ajar door where unsettling noises echoed. Whispers, something metallic striking, and then a scream, muffled, male. He wouldn't say who was involved, but he made it clear it wasn't a prank and it wasn't consensual. Shadows moved. People stood in a circle. Someone was clearly being restrained. A woman walked calmly through the room, jotting notes in a small pad. Then she saw him. Through the cracked door, she locked eyes with Jaime. No shock, no fear, just a quiet smile. Then she shut the door in his face. Jaime stumbled back, shaken. That's when I realized, he told the jury. This wasn't a party, it was a stage. And the people? Just props. His voice wavered as he recounted the final moments of his stay. The off-limits upstairs area. During the party, guests had been told to avoid the top floor unless personally invited. But while searching for a restroom, trying to dodge the crowded hallways, Jaime accidentally opened the wrong door and ended up at the foot of a staircase. Dim red emergency lights barely lit the way. A low hum pulsed from above. At the top, he saw two people whispering. One of them looked straight at him. "You lost?" the man asked coldly. Jaime nodded, apologized, and turned away. But not before. Noticing a thick black curtain hanging in the upper corridor. Behind it, a faint white light blinked. "That's where they kept the good stuff," he said later. "Not good like fun, good like leverage, evidence, control." Later, a friend told him the upper floor was for meetings. Jaime asked, "What kind of meetings?" The answer still echoes in his head. The kind where you give up something to get something. As Jamie Foxx's testimony approached its end, the prosecutor asked the question everyone had been holding in their minds. "Why didn't you speak out earlier?" Jaime lowered his eyes, took a long breath, and replied, "Because I was scared. Not for my career. That didn't matter. I was scared for my life, for my family, for anyone I cared about. You don't understand the reach this man has," he continued. "It's not just about music. It's about fear, about vanishing, maybe. Not physically, but from relevance, from protection, from opportunity. He doesn't have to kill you. He just erases you." He described people over the years who tried to challenge or expose Diddy, each one facing sudden lawsuits, career collapse, or worse. "You get frozen out," he said, "and no one comes to help." But when the stories piled up, the lawsuit, from Cassie, the staff leaks, the federal heat, Jaime knew staying silent made him part of the problem. "If I stayed quiet, I was complicit, and I couldn't carry that anymore." His final words rocked the courtroom. People think Hollywood runs on dreams, but it doesn't. It runs on secrets, and this man? He collected more secrets than anyone I've ever seen. I just hope sharing Mind breaks whatever spell he had over all of us. The judge called for a recess, and as Jaime returned to his seat, reporters noticed several jurors wiping away tears. What followed wasn't just silence from the courtroom, it was the kind of silence that comes when the curtain drops and there's no place left for the truth to hide.